Hello, all. I hope you're all doing well. I'm speaking to you from a different space. I'm up north, the north of Israel, which is going through hard times right now since October 7th, but specifically last few days, another barrage of missiles. And so I come here with my family, extended family up north, to support the local businesses over here and the people over here as well. So we are hoping and praying for a speedy resolution to the situation we're in. Following with the weekly portion review, we are in the portion parasha of Naso. Naso in Hebrew means to lift up. It also in the context of taking a census. And this weekly portion talks about the priestly duties. It talks about the priestly blessings as well, camp purification. We have the famous unfaithful wife, the Sotah, and we also have the Nazirite. This week, let's do a little focus on the Nazirite. And so in Judaism, being a Nazirite is really expressed through three different prohibitions. There's the cutting of the hair, the drinking of the wine, and impurity. These, of course, break down to other subcategories, but these are the main three. However, a Nazirite himself, he continues to live with the family, right? He has a family life. He walks among the people. He's earning a living like everyone else. And this is different from other monks, seemingly, or priests that really withdraw from the world. But here, rather, we need to stay with the world, connected with the world. Rather, we acquire an additional spiritual level. And it could be said that the Nazirite, the concept of it, it's really stemming from a mystical demand for a person to add purity and holiness to his life. And in a certain sense, the Nazirite is also similar to a priest, right? That's serving in the temple, right? So the priest is also forbidden to drink wine, and the high priest is forbidden to becoming impure or in contact with the dead, even if it's his own family member. And therefore, while in other religions, the monk and the priest are people who are called upon when someone is dying or dead, right? In Judaism, we distance the priest and the Nazirite from such situations because they really symbolize those who maintain the framework of a life and distance themselves from death, right? We want to keep them in this pure, elevated state. Now, despite the great similarity between the Nazirite and the priest, the Nazirite is distinguished from the priest by the prohibition of cutting the hair, right? We mentioned the three, that's the one that's different, the cutting the hair. Now, haircuts are really a sign of the beginning of culture. And it's really one of the early steps humans took to distinguish themselves from a purely natural state, right, with their hair all over, and to start forming organized societies with a shared cultural practices, right? So how I do my hair, how I cut my hair had cultural significance to it. And culture carries within it, since Rousseau, there is also an inherent imperfection and corruptions introduced by social developments. That's what we have inside. Now, the Nazirite wishes to return to the ancient, right, to the primal state, and behave like Adam before the sin, where the matter of haircuts really didn't exist. Now, this could also be seen as, well, according to one method in the teachings of our sages, that the tree of knowledge was actually a grapevine. And therefore, the Nazirite is forbidden to drink the wine. And according to this explanation, the Nazirite does not become impure with impurity of death because he wants to be connected to the human identity before death, as is said to Adam, right? That for on this day you will eat from it, you will surely die, right? So he wants to go to a pre-fall status. The Talmud, the Gemara, tells us that there was a famous high priest, Simon, who was the righteous high priest, and he refrained from eating any sacrifices of impure Nazirites, except in one occasion. So the Gemara gives us this interesting story. He meets this handsome Nazirite, this very, very handsome Nazirite, and he has his beautifully curly hair. And he asks why he intended to shave his beautiful, beautiful hair. Now the Nazirite tells him that he was walking, and he was by some water, some little pond, and he saw his reflection in the water. And he immediately felt the evil inclination surging inside him, how beautiful he was, what he could do with his face, how he could manipulate people. So to overcome this, he vows right then to shave his hair for the sake of heaven and take on the Nazirite vow. Now, moved by this, Shimon the high priest, he kisses him, and he says, there should be many Nazirites like you in Israel. And this is, in a certain way, he's also like citing or expressing when a Nazirite takes a vow in the Bible, what he really should be aspiring to. So in other words, when a Nazirite decides to overcome the evil inclination, to channel these life forces to holiness, it is desirable, right? Of course, and this is also temporary. It's not for the rest of his life, it's during certain periods. However, in Greek mythology, we have a very similar story, right? There's the shepherd Narcissus, who looks at his reflection, how he can't break free from the enchantment of his beauty until he ultimately drowns, right? And then he becomes a flower. That's what the Greeks tell us. Now, this is really a Greek tragedy at its best, right? You cannot escape from the shackles of destiny. So in the Talmud, which clearly knew and is aware of the Greek legend, right? It's placed a similar story with a completely different ending, and this is because while in the Greek myth, one cannot escape the grip of the natural forces, right? And in Judaism, despite all the natural forces, a person still remains and manages to retain his inner freedom, and his morality rises above them, and he could overcome them. And we really need to hope that with God's help and with our community's help and our own work that we do in ourselves, we could galvanize the power to overcome these inclinations, these natural forces that are sometimes great, and if channeled properly, could actually bring us closer to God. Nevertheless, we need to make sure we're constantly oriented, and with the help of God, we will be able to do so. Have a Shabbat Shalom.